Joining us now, former National Security Council Chief of Staff and former CIA intelligence officer. He's Fred Fleitz. Fred, it's great to have you back on. Fred, what was your reaction when you saw the story from, it's good to see, the Politico reporting that the White House gave the Taliban a list of names of American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies. The Taliban has never renounced al-Qaeda. You know, lawmakers, defense officials saying this is not a kill list. What do you say?
Well, there were reports earlier in the week that the White House and the State Department did not initially deny, the president did not deny, that we were sharing information on security issues to try to get people into the Kabul airport, also information on American citizens, green card holders, and Afghans who would help the U.S. government to help them get to the airport. I'm sorry, Liz, that did amount to a kill list. And I know today the State Department spokesman tried to say that it wasn't. Look, this was simply a denial, I think, to beat back bad press. I have a feeling we did share this information. I'll say as a former intelligence officer, the U.S. government often shares intelligence with our adversaries under certain circumstances, usually to stop a terrorist attack or some type of natural disaster. So I can think of circumstances where we might share intelligence with the Taliban on a security reason. But to give them the names of Afghans who worked with us, if we did that, I mean, people should be fired.
You know, Fred, to your point, the Taliban has a history of having gone door to door to take people out and execute them if they have worked with our allies. So we hear you loud and clear that, you know, there's a controversy about this, you know, about what happened here. There's also the president's press conference last night, which we covered here. It too was controversial. He made a statement last night. I don't know if you caught it. He said he is communicating via letters in the mail with his generals. Let's watch this.
I've instructed the military, whatever they need, if they need additional force, I will grant it. But the military, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the commanders in the field, have all contacted me one way or another, usually by letter.
Usually by letter? Critics are asking, is he waiting by the mailbox?
Liz, this is a sign of an administration that's really in disarray. People should be resigning over what happened recently, but we also know from a variety of press reports that people in this administration are afraid to register dissent with this president. An administration that operates like that is trying to get their senior officials to put their opinions in writing so they can't later say they had a different opinion. It shows that Biden does not trust his people. He wants to control them. He doesn't want dissent. Liz, this was a time for dissent, and this was a time for people to stand on principle and say, I'm leaving, Mr. President, if you take this terrible decision in Afghanistan.
You know, the Washington Post reporter Josh Rogan said 2 years ago the president told him that when he was vice president, or no, he wasn't in office then, let me back up, that Biden told him, quote, I will not unilaterally pull everybody out and announce it ahead of time. But that's what he did. So the messaging here has been all over the map, Fred.
Well, Bob Gates wrote that Joe Biden has been wrong about every national security question for 40 years. And Gates wrote that in 2010. 10 years later, and I hate to say this, we can see that Joe Biden is suffering from a mental decline. He's making decisions that make no sense. That's why I've called him to sack his whole top national security staff, bring in men and women of consequence and gravitas. Senator Chris Coons, Jane Harman, people like that who I think would give him better advice and resign if he tried to do something that's frankly bonkers.
You know, the president also was downplaying the presence of al-Qaeda to ABC News, saying there will not be a chaotic pullout of Afghanistan. And now Senator Tom Cotton is pointing out that the Biden team is now saying Americans are choosing to stay stranded in Afghanistan, that they didn't want to leave, they wanted to stay there. You heard that from Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Ross Wilson, the acting U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan. So there seems to be a new messaging push. What do you say to that?
First, I don't know how Joe Biden could not know al-Qaeda is still in Afghanistan. Everybody who gets intelligence briefings knows that. But the reality is that Biden is leaving no matter what anyone says, no matter what our European ally says on the 31st of August, and he knows he's going to leave Americans behind. So we're now seeing this irresponsible spinning to try to pretend that the people who were staying behind wanted to stay behind.